Hi everyone. So this week our discussion question is to describe the important aspects of Code 3.0 to staff at the practicum site. So the way that I would start off would be the first part of the code and it is basically explaining to other team members the importance of doing an FA before ever implementing an intervention. And like Dr. Murphy had mentioned in our lecture that, there are going to be times when other staff members or team members may disagree as to why we need to do an FA. And so being able to explain that it's part of our ethical code before we ever implement any intervention, we need to figure out what those functions are. And then being able to explain what the functions are of the behavior to the team as to why the FA needs to be implemented, and also explaining that if we don't know what the function of the behavior, most likely our intervention will probably not be successful, and we want to make sure our child that we are implementing for is going to be able to succeed in whichever setting that he or she may be in. Another one is to talk about how we always, as behavior analysts, need to provide graphs. Also, understanding that other providers may not have any knowledge or may not understand why we always graph. As for us, this is just common knowledge and we graph everything. And so, but being able to explain, this shows the trend lines of where the behavior is going. This shows their progress, maybe where they're decreasing, where, maybe where the behaviors seems to be stable at a certain point. How could we increase? What could we do to provide a better intervention? If other team members seem to just sigh or just, not want anything to do with the graphing, prepare them that, since it's part of our ethical code that we need to graph and show what, why and how our intervention is helping this client. So then eventually, maybe teaching them, explaining, that we need for them to understand, to see some progress. We could also teach them to do that graphing. Another piece that we could talk that's important that in this code is the medical consultation. Like Dr. Murphy had mentioned, or like Mr. Murphy had mentioned, that parents will consistently ask. I know personally in my practicum experience, I had a kiddo that was on medication, and from our data, this kid in particular showed that when he was off the medication, he was a skin picker, and so when he was off that medication, the rates of skin picking decreased by 50%. So at one point he had rates of about just high rates, and then it went down to 0. So, and that was just for 2 to 3 days without that medication. And so with our, after my BCBA looked at the data, she asked me, what was different those days, and I had mentioned there was no medication. And she had mentioned to Mom, maybe we should talk to the doctor about this, because we had been fighting this, trying to figure out, what was the main function. We had done everything that we possibly could, and all of a sudden we realized it was medical related. So the kiddo was already going in for a yearly checkup, so he went in for the yearly checkup, and Mom had mentioned to the doctor that, maybe we could take him off this medication because of our graphs had shown that there was a decrease in skin picking, and sure enough, the doctor had listened. I was there at that time during that meeting, and I clarified that, and I had the graphs to prove and to show what the results were. So she agreed to take him off the medication, and after that, the skin picking pretty much was non-existent, which was awesome. So that was one of my experiences with the medical consultation that came into hand, especially since medication was already in place as an intervention, and it was showed to cause more problems rather than helping him at that point. And then just being able to, so the next thing would be able to explain the results of the assessment, making sure, like I said in the beginning, making sure that we explain the functions and why we're doing the interventions that we're doing. And then also whenever it comes to sending any information, such as the assessments that were done or completed, we need to make sure that we have the consents of the client. So that's this week's video. Thanks for watching.